Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Nurse Mark and the Green Nurse Daily Dose of AFA.
where we bring you hope and inspiration for growth and healing so you can start your day off the AFA way. And in case you've forgotten,
How could you
we
forget?
are here to
You can't forget. You're absolutely amazing. Yes, you
remind.
are absolutely amazing. Sherry, you're absolutely amazing.
You
And
are
guess
too.
what?
And
All the people who listen are absolutely amazing.
and you don't need to hide it. I mean,
No,
here
you
we
don't
are.
need to
We show
hide
up,
it.
we show up every day and we're not hiding it.
No,
You know,
every
I
single day.
yes. And here's the thing is I used to be scared of what people would think. You know what I
Oh
mean?
my
Like
God, I know.
who does she think she is for
She's a little
saying she
conceited. Yeah, guess what? I'm absolutely amazing. And it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what you say. You know what? I love that saying, Sherry. I think we mentioned this earlier this week or last week. What other people think is none of my business. What they
There you
think of
go.
me is none of my business. Because guess what? Most of the time, it's made up. Their opinion of me is made up of all other sorts of stuff that I wasn't even involved in. Like
Yeah.
other people, other experiences all come together. Like, haven't you done that? You walk into a room and you meet somebody for the first time and you immediately have a judgment. You
Oh,
immediately say, oh, yeah, that person is blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
You
Always.
really don't even know that person, right? But you
No,
make
you
up this
don't.
story. I do it, everybody does it. It's the human condition, right? You walk in and you
Absolutely.
just do this thing, you make this
Yes.
judgment.
So
And then
quick
you find
question.
out later on, they're not even like what you thought they were like.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right because you were looking out of a lens, right? You were
Yeah,
looking at this person through a
yeah,
lens based on stories that you create in your head, based on
totally.
how they're looking at you, how they're talking to you,
Yeah,
their body language, what they
right,
say, what they wear, how they breathe,
right.
how they move,
Listen,
right?
Sherry, I ended up married for 20 years to somebody I hated when I first met her.
Here
Oh,
we
and
go.
she hated me. Oh my gosh.
That makes
20
it
years
even
later,
funnier.
like, all right.
Here we are. So quick question. Good morning. Good morning, Eric. Good morning.
Yana.
Deanna, quick question, everyone that is out there. Can you hear us okay? I hear a little echo, but I just want to make sure if you can hear us, just give a thumbs up, a big smile,
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
yes, I can hear you, AFA people. Just want to make sure we can hear because it's a little echoey.
It's a little
Um,
echoey.
it's a little echoey. It's okay. It's all right. You never know what's going to happen with electronics.
You
But
don't know. It's all good. It's all
it
good,
is
Sherry.
all good. It is all good. So listen, Mark wrote this
Yeah,
book. Just a quick review. AFA, we started The Daily Love. You are
yeah.
absolutely frigging amazing exactly as you are. And the
You
book's a really,
are.
really good tool. It
It
is.
doesn't
It's a great
matter.
tool. Well, Mark, you introduced this book to me
Yeah.
way back in 2019. And I kind of, was like looking at it, looking at it. And then we started to get to know each other. I was like, I got to read this book. And I'm going to tell you, you see me on the show, no
Oh, yeah.
matter where I go, green nurse on the go. This book's with me. It is because you are a very powerful and loving man. And the things that you've gone through in your life and that you've overcome and that you're demonstrating and showing the world is so powerful. So I want to say, Nurse Mark, thank you for showing up in my life and thank you for showing up in the lives of their viewers and really sharing that hope and inspiration for growth and healing. Good book. You guys got to get it.
Yeah.
Let me just see. Oh, there
Er
you are. You're better. You're
Eric said,
better.
yeah, you know what? Yeah, yeah, I just changed the setting. Thank you, Eric, for popping up and telling me I was a little echoey. We got that straightened out.
We do. Okay, so we'll
Yeah.
start over.
No,
Hey,
we're
everyone.
good.
Only kidding.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, welcome to the No, we're good. We're gonna
I'm
move
just
right
teasing.
into you're absolutely amazing exactly as you
Exactly
are.
as you are.
And boom, you don't have
There
to
we
take
go.
anybody else's baloney. You can just
Nope.
live your life the way you want to. Oh, when you step into that, Sherry, you do it all the time. You live your best
Boy,
life. Oh
I
my
do.
God.
Mhm. And interesting thing too is
Yeah.
oftentimes, I need to ask myself in situations that don't feel so good, right? What can I do? What can I do
Yeah.
so I can continue to live my best life while I'm going through this human
Oh,
experience? Right?
boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. consider
So,
that most of what we think and do is just an automated process that's
yeah.
going on, right?
Yep.
Stepping
Absolutely.
outside of this thing that contains us, our spirit, boy, it
I
takes
know.
work,
It
and we
does
step
take
back
work.
into it all the time, which is why, you should realize you're absolutely amazing. Give
Yep.
yourself a little bit of grace, a little bit of what we're
Love.
going to talk about now, and that's forgiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to roll right into
Absolutely.
the daily love. Do you
All
have
right.
anything that you wanted to share this
You know
morning
what,
for that,
Nurse
Sherry?
Mark? I think that your what you're going to read today from the Daily Love is going to
Yeah.
tie right into my morning meditation. So
Excellent.
just by the mere fact that you said forgiveness, I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
going to let him go first.
Ooh,
Whoop,
okay.
whoop.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's rip into this. This is
All
called
right.
forgive. I
Mhm.
forgive and I'm set free. Withholding forgiveness is like locking myself in a prison cell and holding the key. I may think I'm punishing another, but in truth, I'm punishing myself.
There you go.
Today, I choose to free myself from the prison of my own making by practicing forgiveness. Forgiving does not require me to forget what caused me pain, but it means I can accept what happened and move beyond it. The moment I am willing to forgive, spirit within helps lift and empower me through the process of releasing and healing. Realizing that forgiveness will take as long as necessary, I commit to keep at it. Even the initial willingness to forgive helps reduce the lingering effects of my pain and leads me on the path to peace.
Yeah.
Ah,
Wow.
ah, it's a tough one. We don't want to forgive.
Well, here's the thing, Mark. I'm going to be real honest.
Yeah.
Looking back at
Mhm.
all of the different experiences that I've had, especially when I come to the place of, where I was in my life with
Yeah.
experiencing that severe chronic illness, I was in that space of could I have done differently? What
Yeah.
did I not do right? And so the anger became, because
Yeah.
how could I be this nurse with my bachelor's in science and nursing? How could I be so smart and have such a great career and not be able to take care of myself? Right. And so the interesting thing
Yeah.
is, once I learned about cannabinoid therapeutics, it made me realize that I needed to forgive myself for what I didn't know, and forgive myself that I didn't know it, and forgive
Right.
myself and forgive others. Right. So really it starts like that whole
Yeah.
backtracking. It's like, I call it generational trauma forgiveness. Right? You have to look at things from a different lens and a perspective. So when I can forgive myself first, it
Yep.
may take time for me to forgive others. And that's because I'm having this human experience
Just a
and processing.
process.
It's
Yeah.
processing emotion. That's
Yep.
it. That's it.
Yep.
So
And that's
if
what
you
that
have
line is. Says realizing that forgiveness will take as long as necessary. I commit to keep at it.
commit,
It
commitment,
just takes time. And
it takes
we get stuck on this thing of forgiveness is saying that the other person was right.
right,
That's not at all what it's about.
right.
Forgiving is just letting go of that continual focus and reliving of the pain of whatever it was that happened to you over and over and over again. Now, Sherry, I know I say this all the time. I love this little saying, and I don't know, I got it from some program, and it says, having a resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
There you go. Having a resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So
Yeah.
even having those thoughts,
Yeah.
right? You think about that, right? So it makes you really think about, what is going on in here? What haven't I processed? What is
Yeah.
bubbling up?
Yeah.
Why are my thoughts even on that other spectrum of polarity, right? Where we
Right.
can, it's just about sticking your foot in another door and looking at things from a different perspective.
That's it. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So today,
today,
uh, who's
peace.
the number one person you can forgive?
Yourself, yourself,
Me, you,
me, me too.
ourselves.
Yeah,
You're off the hook.
you're off the hook.
You're off
And
the
so
hook.
this is how this ties in. So I really like this about forgiveness
Yeah.
for peace, and how here's a little tip, a trick, a hug, and a nug that I got. It's just so funny how our meditations all parallel. So I
Yeah.
took this quote from The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. I kind of flipped through the book and just what do I need to know today? And this quote popped up, and I thought it was really, really appropriate because, like we say, we're talking about going inwards and
Yeah.
processing emotion, doing the
Mhm.
work on yourself. right? So
Right.
here's the quote. Your heart is like a magical kitchen. If you open your heart, you already have all the love you need. There is no need to go out around begging the world for love. We have love right here inside of us. However, many of us don't see this love. So this is just like another idea or a concept or a way just to look at things from another perspective. So
Right.
like for example, say you're in your kitchen. Okay, you're in your kitchen and you
Hmm.
never know what might be tucked away in some of those corners of your kitchen to create something beautiful. Right? You never know what treasures you're going to find in your magical kitchen. And we're going to parallel that to our body, our hearts. I have a
Hmm.
ton of cannabis in the kitchen. I love that. And I find things all the time. I'm like, yes, I can use this for, a way of, right. So if you think about this, these are all these cool little magical things that I find that, leftovers, people give me stuff and I love it. So now I'm
Yeah.
paralleling that to the magical kitchen within my heart, right? How
Hmm.
cannabis allowed me to go deep into my heart to process emotions, right? Cannabis was a tool, that spiritual entheogen that
Yeah.
helped me with spiritual growth, perception consciousness, and
Hmm.
emotional processing for mental wellness, which then filtered over into my physical, emotional health. It all filters down. So we have that abundance of love in our heart. Our
Yes, we
hearts
do.
are our magical kitchens, right? And we
Yeah.
have love not only for ourselves, but others. So
Right.
just like Mark said, is when you love yourself
Yep.
exactly as you are, it's
Hmm.
easier to love others exactly as they are. And
Yeah. It lets
yeah,
everybody else off the hook.
yeah,
I mean, think about it. You have expectations that somebody's going to love you a certain way. They're doomed to failure because they don't know.
yeah,
They have no
there you go.
idea. They're going to let you down.
Yeah,
It's just
that's
how it's
okay.
going to
You gotta
go.
love them anyway. You gotta
Got
love
to
them
love them
anyway.
anyway. But if you come from a place of self-love, if you know that you're absolutely amazing at your core, it's so much better. You can really allow other people to be themselves because you don't have any expectations about how they need to be for you. That's the
Yeah,
beauty.
it
Yeah.
is. It is. So
Great reading.
great. I know, good stuff. And today,
Good stuff.
and of course, we're gonna lead it all into cannabis because
All
a
into
lot.
cannabis. Welcome, welcome
Yeah.
to the cannabis show. Yes, cannabis all day, all the time.
We do. We're in it. We're in it to win it. We are here, like I said, to change the dialogue around
Yeah.
how we take care of patients, patient
Mhm.
empowerment. The future of healthcare is patient empowerment.
It sure
Teaching,
is.
educating, guiding, and helping patients to become empowered to make choices that are best for them and to
Yeah.
decrease stigma around what it means to use plant medicine, something different, right?
Healthcare has changed, Sherry.
It is.
Everybody has access to Dr. Google, and there's a lot of information out there that's not necessarily true.
Mhm.
And so it's upon us as healthcare professionals to help to sift through it and to help people to
It is.
make choices for themselves. Isn't that a
Yes.
beautiful place to be?
Yes.
It's the essence of nursing is human caring, right?
The total and caring for the entire human
Yes.
experience wherever
Yes.
you may be on your journey, right? And
Right.
so we're here to tie this right back to the magical kitchen. What we're trying to help people do is to help them to discover their
Yeah.
own magical kitchens, their
Yeah.
kitchens that have been shut down for so long, you
So
know?
long.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sure. Well,
So
hey,
yeah.
what are we talking about today, Sherry?
This is a good one because this kind of ties into Throwback Thursday too, because cannabis extraction has been around forever, right? So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about
Yeah.
extraction methods and how extraction methods actually do matter when you're going to choose a product for consumption. So we're
Right.
going to talk today about four main types of extraction methods. Mark has a slide, and while he's pulling that up, I'm going to see if I can fix the green dot on my
Oh,
screen.
you'll never fix the green dot. We're
Oh no,
always green dot, Cher.
I think I may. I might be able to fix it. I did. I just fixed it.
And I
Woo!
have your slide up.
Isn't that awesome? All
Oh,
right.
Sherry, we are technically advanced over
We,
here at the Green
we
Nurse.
So Mark, I'm going to let you start this while I get my little I've got a couple other notes I want to pull up.
Okie dokie.
So I'm going to have you start on extraction. And what you can do right now is basically talk about your product. Where's your product and your extraction method and how you decided on that. So Nurse Mark,
Yeah.
Here we go. Let's talk about that while I get my notes up.
Here we go. Well, let's talk about extraction. You know, extraction
Yes.
is the process of bringing out all of the components that are in the plant into an oil, right? That's because we can make other products from them.
Right.
And so there are many different extraction methodologies. And as you said, Sherry, there's been extraction methodologies around forever and ever for a very long time. Now, we have a lot of machinery that's involved in extraction today, right? And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
so there are different methodologies around extraction, and there are reasons why people pick certain extraction methodologies. Now, when I talk to the people who are at the pinnacle of the extraction game, I'm talking, PhD chemical scientists who do extraction every single day. I asked the question, I said, "What's your favorite methodology?" And they said ethanol extraction.
There you
And I know
go.
we have a lot of information about ethanol extraction.
Yep.
And so there are a couple of reasons why they like ethanol extraction. Number one, it pulls out the majority of the chemicals that are in the plant itself, right?
Yeah.
Cannabinoids, terpenes, flavonoids, other ones. There are over, what do we find? 1,300, 1,500 different
Yeah.
chemicals within the plant.
Yep.
You don't get all of them through an extraction. A lot of them are lost during the extraction process because of the volatility of the chemicals themselves.
Yeah.
But they
And
say, go ahead, Cher.
so this is what's so cool too. So if you think about the most purest way to extract when you're going to be using a solvent, right?
Yep, yep.
Um,
And it's all about
especially
solvents.
right. And
Yeah,
because cannabinoids are alcohol soluble and they are oil, you know what I mean? They're high
yep,
fat, they're fat soluble.
yep.
And
They
so
love they
basically
love oils.
the ethanol extraction in the purest, it can retain all the terpenes. It
Mhm.
retains all the water soluble components of the
Yep,
plant as
yep,
well as the fat soluble components of the plant. So that's the part that's so cool is that the more of the plant can be
yep.
retained in the ethanol extraction
And it
as
depends.
long as
Mhm.
you don't burn it off. So if you cook
Right,
it too much, right? And so the making that
right.
Rick Simpson oil or that full extract cannabis oil,
Yep.
there's a lot of different ways that you can do it,
Right, right.
yeah.
And
And
so there's home
mhm,
ethanol extraction, right? Which takes a while to
days,
do.
but it's
As it
fun.
says in the slide, it can take up to 3 days. It could be a slow
Mhm,
process. In the commercial space, the ethanol extraction devices, they're
quicker,
actually preferred because their throughput is higher.
right?
So it's not
Yeah,
that slow of a process. Like they can churn out, a number of gallons per hour with an
right,
ethanol extraction as opposed to a CO2, which that process takes longer,
right.
right?
Yeah, and so
So
ethanol extractions, I've seen multiple different ways. Like, so
yep,
for example, people putting the cannabis in either the alcohol, the
mhm,
grain, food grade organic alcohol. You
yep,
know, um, I've seen people put it in olive oil. I've seen people put it in MCT oil. This is like home ethanol or home extractions especially with the ethanol. So sitting it. So what I did once in my days of experimenting as a kitchen witch was I took the alcohol, put the cannabis in. I put a half an ounce
yep.
into a big mason jar and then filled it. This is just me not, just
Yeah,
Googling, Dr. Google.
yeah, there
And
you go.
taking it and I put it in a dark, cool space and I
Mhm,
would go in every day and I'd shake it. Now I did this for a month.
mhm.
I wanted to see. Let me just tell you something. It was the most potent extraction I ever did. So I saved a little bit as a tincture.
Yeah,
And then the other half of it, what I wanted to do was because I didn't want to use heat with alcohol, there was another way that you could do it. I put a cheesecloth over the jar with a
yeah,
rubber band to keep it completely contained and
mhm,
clean, and then
mhm,
allowed the alcohol to start to slowly evaporate off. And then what it
mhm.
ended up happening over time was I was left with this thick. Now it took a while, right? But these are things
Yeah,
that are just so interesting because they could go faster. So the bottom line is that there's a lot of different ways that you can do this at home
yeah,
and
yep,
trial and success. There's a lot of information in the caregiver communities, but what we're
right.
talking about now is getting into more of the extraction methods for what we're seeing in dispensaries and
Right, and
seeing
the
in
commercial
stores.
products, yeah, so there's
Yeah.
3
Yep.
primary, right? There's
Yep.
ethanol,
Yeah.
there's CO2, supercritical CO2 that's been really, the temperature has really been decreased on the CO2.
Right.
And then there's butane. So you have hydrocarbon. And,
Right.
hydrocarbons get a bad rap because people
Yeah.
think, well, that's a contaminant. Well,
Yeah.
you know what? In the chemical world, a hydrocarbon is just another chemical, and hydrocarbon extraction is just another methodology. And
Right.
it's actually a pretty efficient methodology. In other words,
Oh
if
yeah.
you're looking to create a lot of product quickly, butane is another good
Right.
extraction methodology, right? But
Yeah.
the problem
Yeah.
is it's also super flammable.
Yeah. It can be
And so
dangerous.
why do most people, most production facilities choose CO2? Because it's super easy to just
Easy.
roll the machine into the
Yeah.
space and start producing product. You don't
Yeah.
need special permits. The fire department doesn't need to get involved. So it's easier to do, not
Yeah.
necessarily the one that gives you the best product at the end of the
Right.
day.
So CO2 extraction, just for the new viewers, is
Yeah.
where you use that pressurized carbon dioxide
hmm
gas to
hmm
blast all of the cannabinoids from the
Right.
plant. And what they
Right.
do is they collect them. They collect each component through sifting
hmm
through, and then they do a
hmm
chemical analysis. So, like Mark had said, the good thing about the CO2 extraction is that it's quick, it's clean, it's
hmm
easy to get the cannabinoids and the terpenes and pull them out. And
Yeah.
it can be adjusted, right? You can
Right.
adjust the process, the temperature, based on how you want the terpenes to influence the effect according to what is desired. It's really,
Right.
really cool. So it's a
And yeah. Yeah, it is really cool. And these technologies continue to evolve. So the CO2 is getting better. Before, you'd use CO2 extraction, you'd lose a lot of the terpenes because again, these
mm,
chemicals are volatile and you can't really mess with them, right? So when they
yeah,
try to pull them through, they evaporate, they're gone.
yeah,
So they're getting better at actually pulling them through.
yeah. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit and we'll go back to butane again. So right, so
Yeah.
if you think about this, butane hash oil
Yep.
is an extraction method that is used to produce a lot of concentrates.
Yep.
Shatter, butter, wax, right? And the reason why this extraction method is preferred is because it is able to produce the highest THC products for
Yeah.
markets that are looking for that, right?
Yeah.
And I've actually seen THC products up to 90%. So in here,
Whew.
I want to give you, I know the lab value, when I
Yikes.
saw that, I was like, holy schmoly, like I
Yeah.
wouldn't even do that. I would use that in food. And here's the reason why. So here's an example. So if I got a gram of butane hash oil, BHO,
hmm
whether it be shatter, butter, and it tests at 90%. Okay. So you think 1 gram at 90% means that 1 gram is 900
900
milligrams of
milligrams.
THC.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a lot of THC.
Yeah.
And even that's too much for me. But
On
if
average, what
I,
is it, like 60, 70%?
yeah,
That's
it's
I think what
usually,
I've seen a lot
yeah,
with
it's
a
a
lot of these,
general.
in general,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So the bottom line is, if you see, here's just a hug and a nug of information. So if
Yep,
you're looking at concentrates and it's 1 gram and it tests at 60% THC, you just imagine that 1 gram contains 600 milligrams of THC. So
right,
if it's 70%, it's 700
right,
milligrams. If it's
right.
80%, so
And
just a concept.
it's important to know if you're gonna make other products, if you're gonna make
Well,
other
that's it too.
things with it, like chocolates or brownies, or
Exactly.
you're gonna make a tincture, you have to know.
Well, here's an example. So, for example, you take this concentrate and you decide you want to make butter with it, right?
Yeah,
So, knowing the amount of THC that is in that concentrate when you stick it in the butter is going to
yeah,
help you to be able to do the math to get more precise dosing, and and
right.
and that's key. That's
That's the
truly key.
key right
Yeah,
there. Absolutely.
exactly. So we
Yeah,
have
so
ethanol,
yeah.
CO2, butane.
Right. And so another
Mhm.
difference between an ethanol extraction and a CO2, and why some extractors would prefer ethanol, when you do the ethanol extraction, you're pulling out just the components that you want. When you do the CO2, there's a step in between. You do the extraction, then you have to winterize it, which means you
Yeah,
take the product that you've just extracted and you put it in a tray and you put it in a deep freezer and you freeze that product. And the reason is when you freeze that product, the waxes and the other stuff that you
start to
don't
fall
want
off.
in the finished product all freeze separately so that you can scrape them off. So it's
Right.
another step in the process and it takes a little longer. So again, for somebody who's in commercial extraction, they're going to go more towards ethanol because you don't have to winterize. It only pulls
Right.
out the components you want. So it's another sort of little
Absolutely.
tidbit of why they prefer ethanol.
Mhm. Right. And then to just get back to some history really
Yeah.
quickly about concentrates, how they used to make it in the old world, right?
Yeah.
So they used to
They've
make
been doing this
hash,
forever. Like back at
hashish,
the turn of the century, right? Back at the
right?
turn into 1800s into 1900s when there were 600 cannabis preparations from
Yep.
all of the major pharmaceutical companies. How did they extract their products, Share?
Well, they used to old world extraction methods is they used to freeze,
Mm.
right? And then the trichomes, or what they would do is they would do a sifter. So I'm going to tell you how I I used to, I because I was experimenting. I got dry ice. I had an ounce of cannabis. I had bags, these bubble bags that have mesh containers that allow specific amounts of cannabinoids to sift through. And you took the flour. I would freeze the flour for a day, take it out, put it in this bubble bag with dry ice, and I would sift it right along. You'd be shaking it, and literally you could see the trichomes and all of the different parts of the plant falling down on this tray. And then you'd scrape it up. That's what I did. I'd scrape it up, and you could make it into little hash patties, or you could even use the keef to cook. So
Mhm.
I would use the hash that would be created with this to either sprinkle on the top of my flour if I wanted to inhale it, sprinkle a little bit in my cannabis joint, or you can even use the keef that makes the hash in your food. So
Mhm.
taking it like a little teaspoon and adding it into different recipes. So it was just another way of getting cannabis in, and you can use it in multiple different ways. That's what
Yeah.
I really like. The keef.
Love it. Hey, we got a question.
Sure.
So Tiffany wants to know, when you did the cannabis and alcohol in the jar, did you, I'm going to say, decarboxylate the cannabis first?
Oh yeah. So I'm going to tell you, I've done it a couple of different ways.
Yep.
I've decarboxylated it first, and I've not decarboxylated it. And I'm going to tell you, and there is a big difference.
Yeah.
The one that I decarboxylated, I found to be way, way, way more sedating. So you think about this, okay? When you decarboxylate, you're converting the THCA into THC,
Right.
and then it's sitting in alcohol. And you have to understand cannabinoids degrade over time. So
Hmm.
THC over time can start to shift and change into CBN.
Right.
So I had an ethanol extraction that was really, really powerful for sleep. Then I did another one that I didn't decarboxylate. So I did the entire extraction, but did I feel a little elevated? Yes, but not as tired. So it was really, really interesting. They were both sitting in the closet, both had the same amount of cannabis. One was decarboxylated, one wasn't. Same exact flower, two different effects, which was
Hmm.
really interesting. So the one that wasn't decarboxylated was a little bit more uplifting. I wasn't as sedated, and I think because too it didn't convert as too much THC and too much CBN, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question? I hope.
Think that made sense to me.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, why do we like full spectrum stuff? Share.
We like full spectrum stuff because of the entourage effect.
The entourage
So
effect. Yes,
when
a
we
very
go
well-known
look,
effect that we're not quite sure how it all works because
but
it's
you know what? It,
really
it doesn't.
complex. Because
It is
we're really
complex.
complex. Holy shit, we don't understand. We understand like just a tiny bit about how the human body works. We like to
Yeah.
think that we're all just these very knowledgeable healthcare professionals, but at the end of the
Yeah.
day, Sherry, we don't know that much.
We don't, but here's the thing though, is we can pretend that we know, and we can make
We can,
analogies that make sense. So I'm
right?
going to give you all an
Yeah.
analogy that will help
Yeah.
you to make sense. Okay. So
Yeah.
the entourage effect states that the whole of the plant is greater than
Mhm.
its individual parts. And when you think about the endocannabinoid system, and Mark and I teach about it, we teach the umbrella concept.
That's
The
right.
umbrella, just imagine that umbrella that you see is your body. All of the spokes of the umbrella are your different organ systems and your immune system.
Mhm.
All the fabric pieces that attach to the spokes of the umbrella are your neurotransmitter signaling systems, such as dopamine, serotonin, opioid signaling systems, and there's a lot of other ones.
Yeah.
And those signaling systems give messages to the spokes of your umbrella to either do something or not do something. Tippy top of the umbrella is our endocannabinoid system. that blankets on top of our entire umbrella,
Mhm.
because we have cannabinoid receptors on all the cell surfaces of all of our 11 organ systems and immune
Mhm.
system. And we have cannabinoid receptors at the neurotransmitter signaling junction sites. So at the tippy top of the umbrella, we produce cannabinoids upon demand to
Mhm.
shower on our umbrella to keep our umbrella going up and down nicely. If we don't make enough of our own, guess what? Our umbrella starts to fall apart. It
Gets
doesn't,
squeaky.
it gets squeaky. So let's bring this into plant medicine. Let's bring the cannabis plant in to shower on our umbrella. So you
Yeah.
can imagine THC and CBD isolates alone showering on our umbrella is good, but could it be better? Absolutely.
Totally
You
can be
start,
better.
right? So you think about it, THC and CBD showering on our umbrella,
Mhm.
the intelligence of the plant, it's going where it needs to go, doing what it needs to do to bring that balance back.
Right.
You
Right.
add other phytobotanical nutrients, you add the terpenes, the
Yeah.
bioflavonoids, the
They
essential
make a
fatty acids,
difference.
right? You
They
add
make
that.
a difference.
So just
Studies have
imagine,
yeah. Yeah, go
just
ahead.
imagine, like if you
Yep.
have this abundance amount of components in the
Mhm.
plant that all have a therapeutic potential. Imagine
Yeah.
500 things showering on your umbrella, all going and
Mhm.
doing different things, as opposed to one or two things. It just
Right.
makes sense that we want to get rained on. I know I do, right? And so
That's
I'm
right.
having, yeah,
I mean, there are studies that have shown that the isolates, the isolated CBD molecule, the THC, over time, they decrease in effectiveness. In other words, you build up a tolerance to them, your
yeah,
body, which is very common with any drug. You
yeah,
build up a tolerance to it. And with the entourage effect, for some reason that we don't really truly understand, that tolerance effect is sort of hacked, and we don't build up a tolerance, and the products continue to work as they're designed, as they should.
yeah. And
Yeah.
here's the other
So
thing too. So how I like to look at that is just imagine a salad bar. Okay.
mhm.
I look at, so we're talking about gardening and eating and phytobotanical nutrients.
Yep.
So if you go to the salad bar and you just put THC and CBD on your plate, well, let me tell you, it's a pretty good salad. But let
Yeah.
me tell you what, I start going down the salad bar and start adding different components to my
Mhm.
salad.
Mhm.
Wow, what a
Yeah.
better, well-nourished meal to support
Yeah.
all aspect of myself. The other
Hell
thing I'm going to
yes.
bring up too, which is
Yeah.
just an interesting concept, is our cannabinoid requirements may change over time as we change.
Absolutely can. Your receptor count changes based on
Yep.
what's going on in your body.
Yep.
Absolutely. In
So
each specific organ system. So you're right, Sherry. Your
yeah.
your your needs change over time.
Yep. And that's the beauty of this plant. This plant is constantly evolving. It is helping us to evolve in mind, body, and
Yes.
spirit.
Yes.
And basically that's the miracle of the plant medicine works in
That is
harmony,
a
you
miracle.
know. And that's I'm in awe every day. I'm like, I say that I look up to cannabis plant and I'm like, cannabis, how do you know what I need? How do you know? And it's just it's very interesting, the wisdom of the plant. And it's because it's that pleiotropic, Elizabeth Mack talks about effect, how it's affecting multiple physiologies, multiple organ systems,
Yeah.
all at the same time.
All at
It
the
is
same
very
time.
intelligent.
So
Yeah,
amazing.
it is.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a great show.
It
Again, I
has
want to
been a
say,
great show.
got to plug my girl Elizabeth.
Got to
So her
cannabis for health. Become a
and
coach.
that exactly the slide that we had pulled up is from
Yep.
one of her courses.
Yeah.
So Holistic Caring Network, the green nurses are there. She has a
Yep.
free introductory to cannabis course that you can get there. There's a link right down below. And so what we're doing is we're taking slides because we're actually doing this book in the community with book club.
Yeah.
And so you don't even need to have the book to join the book club. So what we're doing here every day is we're going to cover slides, cover the different programs, and really bring you information that is going to help you expedite your learning growth so you can reach new
Love
levels of wellness sooner. And
it.
so, Mark, why do people want to come into the community?
Because it's unfiltered, because it's not processed by anybody else but us. So we can say what we really want to say and not
Yeah,
be filtered or shut down or
exactly.
told we can't.
Exactly.
We
And
have
so some
open,
other
honest
benefits.
dialogue, Sherry. Open and honest dialogue.
Open and honest. We look at everything. We look at
Yeah.
everything when we have the conversation. And that's what's so beautiful about the community. It's private, it's off social media. You
Hmm.
have access to nurses and other providers across the globe. There is free introductory to cannabis, free patient portal. If you're a patient out there, this is the place to come to. Free
Yeah.
patient support group. You have
Hmm.
an access to clinicians, access to our green nurse approved CBD marketplace. Now tell me that isn't badass.
Yeah.
Right. And then of course
All
all
the
of our
top products.
podcasts are there. So you go to the community, everything that you need is right there. And we're
Yeah.
there to provide you with hugs and nugs for sure.
Absolutely. So, Sherry,
What's going
Thursday, August 26th. Is it
on?
26th? Or, yeah, 26th. I got the date right. It's the only one we get.
It's it. Mark, what are we doing on Saturday the 28th? We got to plug our
Oh my
event.
God. Hey, we're
Is it-
going to the Holyoke Cup. Woo, the Holyoke Cannabis Cup. We are
If
there in force.
enforced. And so if you live in the New England area, Google Holyoke. I put a link up
Yep.
yesterday, and if it's not there, I'll put another graphic up to share. But the
Uh-huh.
Holyoke Cannabis Cup is in Holyoke, Massachusetts. It's from 2 to 8 p.m. We're going to
Yep.
be there at noon setting up. It's going to be great. A lot of vendors, lots of education.
Oh, yeah.
People
It'll
are
be,
submitting their products to be evaluated and voted on. There's going to be music, and we're going to be there. So we're going to be
yeah.
there. Nurse Mark is going to be there with his products and his books, and
I'm going to
Michelle
be
and
hanging.
Denise. Yeah. So we're going to, so come and visit us. It's our second event of the year,
Yep.
and hopefully we'll be able to continue to have more. But in the meantime, come join us on Saturday. After all, Mark, it's all about living an AFA life, a
It
life that you
is.
love, and
Yes.
living your best life.
Oh, Sherry.
Cheers.
Always, always.
Thursday,
Thanks for
Thursday.
stopping by, everybody.
Mhm.
We love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And have that AFA day. Live that best life.